Miles, I wanted to start with you on this because I know you were encouraged to make the script your own here. So what would you say was the new idea or the change you made that you found wound up being the key to making this feel like it was your own voice?
It's a great question. I think it was probably one of the first things we talked about was the narration, who's the perspective of the narration was coming from. For me, there was this key of figuring out that she could have the ability of telling this story because of a shared loss and a shared feeling that, given that she had experienced an absence the same way that her brother had experienced an absence, that in a way she was justified in telling his story even though he wasn't there. I think that to me was one of the first things that arrived.
Darby is so good. I just want to say that out loud before I move on to the next question, but she is something else in this. Margot, I know for you that this was one of the very first projects you took on at LuckyChap. So is there anything about your experience making Dreamland that has influenced the project that you work on through the company since?
God, you've got great questions. Honestly, every project we take on board, it comes about in a different way, and it's for a different reason. And sometimes it begins with the filmmaker, sometimes it's a script, sometimes it's a character. Or a story or a point of view that we want to put out there in the world. So it honestly changes every time. And I don't know if Dreamland has necessarily changed the way we think. It's just something we're incredibly proud of. And we're just so happy that it's finally going to be out there in the world. And it is so different to, the other films that we've made. And but it really connects with people. Funnily enough, like 3 very close people in my life have said out of all the films they've seen me in, this is their favorite. And I was like, wow, that's really, and they know me really, really well. So I don't know what it is about this one, but I don't know.
That was Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Leonardo DiCaprio. She doesn't want to say it, but that's who it was.
I didn't want to name drop, but yeah.
Well, different from your other films in your filmography, and it's also got a uniquely classic feel that I don't think we get often enough now. So I have a feeling that's going to strike a chord with a lot of people. I wanted to ask the two of you about working together as collaborators on set, Margot and Finn. What is something that the other did on this set as a scene partner that you really appreciated and hope to find in other actors that you work with in the future?
I mean, that's a hard question because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I just would like to say, first of all, that I learned so much from working with Margot and LuckyChap and Miles, and a lot of what Margot brought on those days in terms of her focus and her knowledge of camera and all of those things, it really kind of enlightened me to seeing a different side of things. Also, as a producer, and a brilliant one at that, I was lucky to kind of get an insight into how that works, which most producers don't do. So it definitely pushed me to want to do more things in this industry and try other avenues, but just utmost professionalism and made me feel so comfortable, and when I made mistakes or I didn't get things right, there was no judgment, and that's something that I'll always appreciate.
I don't remember you making a single mistake. I would say Finn is literally the perfect scene partner, and he has it's a really tall order in this film. He has to kind of guide us through it. I mean, he really is the center of the film. His kind of journey is the emotional stakes of the entire film. So he has to hold the screen when he's on screen on his own. He's got so many different dynamics and relationships that are at play here. And then there's also this Allison and Eugene dynamic. And for me, it's like, it's a dream come true when you work with someone who both pushes you, but is always there for you. And that's what I found acting with Finn. I was always challenged. I was always caught off guard in the best way, in the way that was always going to make me better in that. I feel like we work really well together. We kind of like gel really well. Maybe it's because we have similar work methods or styles or whatever, or because Miles creates that kind of environment on set. But whatever that combination of things were, to have someone there that kind of has your back, but it also is going to push you to be better. That's the dream.
All right, Miles, I'm coming back to you now, and I'm going to put up a light spoiler warning for this one just so you could talk about it freely. But I'm like mildly obsessed with the shot design for the shower scene. And I was just wondering, is that something that you kind of knew immediately when you came to the script that it was going to look that way? Or is that from workshopping and conversations with your DP?
we knew instantly that if that scene was going to be in there, if there was going to be that kind of scene, that there were a lot of things I wanted to avoid with that kind of scene. Immediately what made sense was to go into really what it's doing is putting the timeline in real time, right? So all of a sudden we have this kid who's been fantasizing about how his life could go, or how this could happen, or what this person's introduction could be, or whatever. And then to actually be in that experience, to completely slow it down, make it happen, you know, in one unbroken, very still shot that kind of places these two characters at their most vulnerable without hiding it in a cut, and showing the experience in kind of the most grounded way possible, since it isn't a fantasy. It's it's the part that he's kind of making this emotional leap, and so is she. And it was an incredibly difficult scene to get right on the page, and then it was a very easy scene. It felt like the second I didn't have to have anything to do with it, and they were sitting there acting it. And I remember the first take. First take was like 9 minutes or something, and there's no cut, there's no nothing. It's just the two of them there. And it was incredible to watch. And it was incredible also to have the support of Margot and Finn to say, like, yeah, you're not crazy. Don't get coverage. This works. You know what I mean? And like that, as a filmmaker, that's sort of all you can ask for, is for the people to really believe in you.
It's so well composed. I'm very impressed. Before I get kicked out of here, I did want to ask you a Pirates question, Margot, very quickly, because I feel like your involvement and Christina's is exactly what I needed to get me hyped for another one of those movies. So what are you two striving to bring to that film that we have yet to see in that franchise?
A lot of girl power. No, it's too early to talk about it, but I appreciate that you're psyched on the combo. I love Christina, obviously. I'm not a producer on Pirates, so I'll sit back and kind of wait for the process the way you're allowed to do as an actor, which is nice. I don't have to stress about it just yet. But no, we're really, really excited at the prospect of kind of, adding obviously a very key female element to that world.
Clearly, I'm very much looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Huge congratulations on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.